next moment, a dimensional gate appeared before Zhang Yi, and a flood of supplies poured out like a tidal wave. Luozhua was instantly stunned. Before he could react, the surging tide of supplies swept him all the way to the corner. Zhang Yi swiftly backed away to the side. Crawling out from beneath the pile of supplies, Luozhua stared in astonishment at the goods that nearly filled the entire room. Chocolate bread, custard tarts, and instant noodles. Wow, pickled eggs. Holy crap! Luozhua gaped in amazement, darting his eyes from one item to the next. These foods, once commonplace in supermarkets, were now extremely expensive. Zhang Yi looked at the resistance army leader, this young man barely in his 20s, and couldn't help but smile. At the end of the day, he was still just a half-grown man. Zhang Yi waved his hand dismissively, glancing around indifferently. Well, this place is a bit small, I'll admit. But since you say it's here, I'll stop. Luozhua snapped back to reality. Suddenly, he leaped forward and slid to his knees at Zhang Yi's feet with a soft thud. Big shot, let's be friends. Zhang Yi stared in disbelief. Holy crap! You're the leader of the resistance army, the Snow Eagle. Is this really appropriate? Luozhua clung to Zhang Yi's leg with a wry smile. Snow Eagle? That's just a fancy title to impress people. My rich friend, our people are desperately short on supplies. Please give us more. To win Luozhua's loyalty completely, Zhang Yi naturally wouldn't stop at just this small amount of supplies. He said, get up first. I promised I wouldn't shortchange you. As long as you cooperate fully with me, there will be even more supplies in the future. Luozhua stood up and sighed deeply. Meeting you people from Jiangnan, I finally understand what a life of abundance truly means. Jiangnan is truly wonderful. There's no shortage of supplies, and people can eat their fill. His eyes brimmed with envy. Zhang Yi thought for a moment and said to him, find me a bigger room. Luozhua eagerly pulled Zhang Yi along to their largest space, a cavernous area that usually served as a gathering place. Zhang Yi's forehead creased with exasperation. You really don't hold back. Still, he opened the dimensional gate and delivered several dozen cubic meters of supplies from the alternate space. These supplies were mere drops in the bucket compared to his overall inventory. Meanwhile, in the Jiangnan region, Blizzard City had already resumed production. Daily foodstuffs could be produced normally, though the variety was still limited. Luozhua's excited face flushed even redder with Highland blush. Zhang Yi stood beside him, observing his genuine smile and couldn't help but recall the pure, innocent smile of the Undertaker Zhugo. Lord Chaos, thank you so much. You are our savior. With these supplies, our food requirement for the next half-month are secured. Luozhua expressed his sincerity to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi replied calmly, there's no need to be overly formal with me. I'm merely adhering to the principle of cooperation. Now, it's time for you to tell me what I need to know. Luozhua nodded. All right, I'll share every piece of information I possess with you, without holding anything back. He spoke with Zhang Yi at length, sharing everything he knew, including Zhugo's temperament as a child and the various changes he underwent later in life. Zhang Yi listened attentively, recording the conversation with his equipment. Once he got back, he would analyze it thoroughly with Yang Xinxin to devise a strategy against the Undertaker. However, merely hearing this, combined with Zhang Yi's prior understanding of the Undertaker, had already sparked some ideas in his mind. He would need to refine them further later. After exchanging contact information with Luozhua, he prepared to leave. But just before leaving, as if remembering something, he casually asked, oh, and on the day I first arrived in the snowy region, a woman slit her throat at my doors. Was she one of your people? A shadow of darkness flickered in Luozhua's eyes. Closing his eyes, he nodded solemnly. Her name was Gasang Meiduo. Zhang Yi said softly, my condolences. Luozhua clenched his fist and told Zhang Yi, in this world, no revolution happens without bloodshed. Every member of our resistance army, myself included, has long been prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice. To ignite a revolution across the entire snowy plateau, they had placed numerous undercover agents within the four great families and even sung the temple. No, rather than spies, it was more accurate to say that they had willingly chosen to rebel. As infiltrators, they all harbored a death wish, harboring extreme hatred toward the Tusi and Sung the temple. The explosion during the Chuanzhou Dharma assembly had been orchestrated by these infiltrators. Within the four great families in Sung the temple, there were others like Gesang Meiduo. Originally, Gesang Meiduo had approached Zhang Yi proactively, attempting to extract vital intelligence from him. But Zhang Yi had refused her. Therefore, she had no choice but to die. Otherwise, given Pa Jigsawn's suspicious nature, he would inevitably trace the matter back to her afterward. That would implicate more people along the entire line, potentially even endangering the base camp. Zhang Yi departed the base camp's cave, watched by Luo Zhuo and the others. Thanks to the substantial supplies Zhang Yi had delivered, everyone's gaze toward him brimmed with gratitude. As they prepared to leave, a young girl with 2 long braids suddenly ran up to Zhang Yi, holding a snow-white kata in her hands. "Esteemed benefactor, thank you for your aid." 2 other girls accompanying her then presented their katas to Liang Yu and Mu Yan. Zhang Yi smiled, bowing his head to let her drape the kata around his neck. He gently ruffled the girl's hair. Stay alive. In this apocalyptic world, it was the best blessing one could offer. Zhang Yi and the others departed from the resistance army headquarters. Luo Zhuo watched the 3 vanish from the spot in the blink of an eye. He drew a deep breath, exhaling a puff of white smoke that slowly dissipated into the air. "Everyone pack up. We're relocating to Outpost 17. Luo Zhuo was deeply grateful for Zhang Yi's assistance and had come to trust him almost completely. But as a leader, he couldn't risk the lives of so many within the organization. A clever rabbit has 3 burrows, they possessed numerous backup camps like this one. These were lessons learned through bloodshed. Luo Zhuo stood in the snow, letting the flakes drift onto his head and shoulders. He extended his right hand, catching a falling snowflake. The white before his eyes slowly transformed into a fiercely burning crimson. "Luo Zhuo, remember, you are a child of the Great Snow Mountain." Amidst the raging inferno, a temple lay collapsed, its timber twisted and groaning with crackling sounds. Luo Zhuo stood in the courtyard, cradling an old monk covered in wounds, blood trickling from his mouth. The monk extended his rough, bony hand, caressing Luo Zhuo's face. "Go claim his divine essence. Luo Zhuo, you are the true savior." The vision faded back to reality. Luo Zhuo closed his eyes, a look of profound sorrow spreading across his face. He clenched the snowflake in his hand tightly, murmuring softly, "Master, I will do it. I absolutely will." Zhang Yi returned to the Paji household. Zhang Yi summoned Yang Xinxin and recounted his entire conversation with Luo Zhuo. Since they had recorded it on video, Yang Xinxin grasped everything easily. "Xinxin, I have an idea forming in my mind. See if it's feasible," Zhang Yi said, folding his arms. "Brother, tell me about it," Yang Xinxin said with a smile. Zhang Yi laid out his complete plan. After listening, Yang Xinxin offered some additional suggestions. The two plotted for a long while. Over half an hour later, Zhang Yi opened the doors and went to find Fatty Su, who was engrossed in a game. Zhang Yi slapped Fatty Su on the shoulder. "Fatty, hold off on queuing with that little sissy. Come with me, we've got work to do." Fatty Su jumped in surprise. Spotting Zhang Yi, he immediately put on a cheerful expression. "Heh, boss, whatever you need done, just give the word." He was still puzzled, with his current skills, what could possibly be useful? The southwest region was colder than other areas anyway, rendering his snowstorm generator practically useless. Zhang Yi smiled faintly. "Come with me. We're heading back to Jiangnan." "Huh?" Fatty Su blinked, looking utterly confused. Zhang Yi didn't bother explaining. He was only here to inform Fatty Su, not seek his consent. Zhang Yi immediately instructed the others to wait behind. Grabbing Fatty Su by the arm, he opened a dimensional gate and teleported straight to the Jiangnan region. The journey from the southwest region to Jiangnan spanned nearly the entire length of Huashu Kingdom. After half an hour of travel, Zhang Yi and his group finally arrived at Blizzard City. Isn't this Blizzard City? Fatty Su stared at the sprawling concrete jungle before him, puzzled. Boss, what are we doing here? Fatso, this is where you come in handy. Zhang Yi said with a smile. Before Fatty Su could speak, he led the way to Zhu Zheng's Operations Combat Center. As Zhang Yi stepped through the main doors, the guards at the door started to speak, but upon recognizing him, they snapped to attention. Welcome, Captain of Chaos, to the Operations Combat Center. Salute. 2 rows of guards around him saluted in unison, their backs straight as bamboo. They gazed at Zhang Yi, unable to hide the admiration and excitement in their eyes. I wish to see Commander Zhu Zheng. Zhang Yi said with a smile. He strode through the doors and headed straight for the elevator. Zhang Yi bypassed the reception desk and headed straight for Zhu Zheng's office. The moment the doors opened, Zhu Zheng sprang up from the sofa and walked over to shake Zhang Yi's hand. My dear Captain. It's been ages since you visited Blizzard City. What brings you here? Need supplies? Just ask, anything at all. Haha. Zhu Zheng beamed with satisfaction. Ever since Zhang Yi allocated him a 7% share of the yuan ore, Blizzard City's energy shortage had been effectively resolved. From that moment onward, the city even permitted young couples to bear healthy children. Having secured basic survival for Blizzard City's millions, the next step was to ensure the continuation of civilization through procreation. Zhang Yi chuckled. I'm not here for any special requests. Just one thing I need your help with. Zhu Zheng asked curiously, you want me to help with something you can't handle yourself? Zhang Yi gave a faint smile and said, I need you to gather the finest-looking engineers from every district in Blizzard City immediately. My brother needs them. He patted the plump figure beside him. He almost blurted out that he needed them himself, but being a man of pride, it was better to have Fatty Su take the fall. Zhu Zheng eyed Zhang Yi skeptically, then glanced at the innocent scapegoat, Fatty Su, and chuckled. I thought it was something major. This is simple. He immediately summoned Lan Xinqing, instructing him to notify every service organization in Blizzard City to gather the city's most outstanding technical professionals. He didn't ask Zhang Yi what he intended to do. He understood Zhang Yi wasn't acting on a momentary impulse to seek entertainment. Zhang Yi would only use him for such matters if it served a crucial purpose. Meanwhile, Fatty Su remained utterly bewildered. He couldn't believe Zhang Yi had summoned him to Blizzard City to find ladies. A single call from Lan Xinqing and soon all the managers of all Blizzard City's high-end establishments receive word, immediately sending their best to Zhang Yi's villa in the city. Zhang Yi wasted no time, heading straight there with Fatty Su. Boss, can I ask what exactly you're up to bringing me here? Fatty Su whispered. Zhang Yi shot him a glance. Put your special skills to use. When the time comes, pick out the woman you think is the most alluring, the most captivating, the one who can stir a young man's heart the most. He emphasized again, remember, I'm not asking about your personal preferences. After all, your tastes aren't necessarily shared by everyone. I mean women who would drive any normal young man wild. Fatty Su immediately protested, Boss, you've got to be fair here. Yang Yang and I are completely innocent. Zhang Yi chuckled. Zhang Yi brought him to the villa Lan Xinqing had given him in Blizzard City. Lan Xinqing's efficiency was remarkable. His authority in Blizzard City sometimes made him second only to the leader himself. Before long, one car after another swiftly pulled up at the villa doors. Lan Xinqing entered the villa and respectfully inquired, Lord Chaos, the guests have arrived. More are on their way. Shall I invite them in for your review? Or should I have them all wait outside? Zhang Yi sipped his tea and replied calmly, have the ladies come in for a look first. Fatty Su wore a serious expression. He silently pulled out a pen and notebook from somewhere. What are you doing? Zhang Yi asked. Fatty Su replied, I'm giving them scores, of course. Boss, I'll do my best on the task you assigned. After all, opportunities for him to prove his worth were few and far between. Soon, Lan Xinqing opened the doors and shouted, "Ladies from the beauty pavilion, come in first. Line up. Get in order. No pushing. Lord Chaos will be inspecting each of you. Those from the Phantom Sound Pavilion, one more cut in line and I'll suspend your licenses." Upon hearing Zhang Yi had come to select candidates, the city's major agencies immediately brought all their most beautiful girls in excitement. After all, whoever won Zhang Yi's favor would be propelled to new heights. Even their backing agencies would reap blessings, securing exceptional status within Blizzard City henceforth. Soon, a group of young women entered the villa's living room. Outside, temperatures hovered around -50 to 60 degrees Celsius, yet they wore only light clothing, their lips turning blue from the cold. One could only imagine how determined they were. Fortunately, the indoor temperature was high. Had they endured another minute outside, they might have frozen stiff, if not outright frozen to death. Zhang Yi hadn't met them before, and at first glance, he couldn't discern much. He needed more than just pretty faces and good figures, he wanted women who knew how to tease and captivate. This was where Fatty Sue came in. He'd basically dated every prominent female technician in Blizzard City. Fatty Sue looked serious. Xinjin won't work, she's the aloof type, more popular with older guys. Lily's okay, but she's had plastic surgery, if you look closely, her features don't quite match. Lian's too flat-chested. Soon, he'd scribbled his ratings across the notebook with rapid strokes, then waved his hand dismissively at Lan Xinqing. Next group. Lan Xinqing promptly arranged for a new group to come in. Fatty Sue stared intently at the girls' faces, chests, and thighs. Remarkably, his expression lacked any lecherous desire. Instead, he critiqued them earnestly, like a judge at an international supermodel competition. After reviewing all the candidates, Fatty Sue circled the highest scoring names from several pages of notes and instructed Lan Xinqing to summon them. That was just the preliminary screening. Now begins the official selection round. Fatty Sue declared with solemn intensity. Lan Xinqing, taking the notebook, felt a twinge of awkwardness, inwardly thinking, "You sure are professional in this area." Zhang Yi looked at the women before him and had to admit, Fatty Sue had a pretty good eye for selecting candidates. Both their looks and figures were absolutely stunning, most had clearly had surgery, leaving their bodies nearly flawless. But what truly stood out were their eyes and expressions, every flicker and glance radiating pure allure. Fatty Sue flashed Zhang Yi a fawning smile. "Boss, I think these ladies are all excellent choices. What do you think?" Ahem. Zhang Yi cleared his throat before addressing the women before him. "First, tell me your names." The girls smiled brightly and began introducing themselves from left to right. "Hello, sir, I'm Tao Ran. I'm An Kaching. I'm Su Xiao Xiao. I'm Lu Ruishi. I'm Wang Gong." When it came to the last woman, however, the name took a peculiar turn. Both Zhang Yi and Fatty Sue froze in surprise. "You? What's your name?" "The one just now." The woman named Wang Gong flushed, her shy smile enchantingly alluring. "Ah, Wang Gong." Zhang Yi sucked in a sharp breath. This woman looked gentle and lovely, with undeniable beauty and figure, but her name was just too solid. Zhang Yi clapped his hands enthusiastically. "Excellent. Excellent. A name that demands attention, truly unique." He shot a meaningful glance at Fatty Sue. "And she's your type, huh?" Cold sweat beaded on Fatty Sue's forehead. There were so many people. I can't recall their names. Zhang Yi rolled his eyes before addressing them. "Wang Gong stays. The rest of you, leave." The women shot Wang Gong envious glances before obediently exiting the villa. Wang Gong, however, lifted her skirt with a coy air and approached Zhang Yi. "Sit down." Zhang Yi pointed to the sofa across the room. "I have a crucial task to assign you this time." "A mission?" Wang Gong looked curious. "Is it some new trick? Or perhaps you fancy role-playing, sir?" "Ahem, this is the real deal." But you can't use the name Wang Gong anymore. Your sister is called Lu Ruishi, so from now on, your name shall be Lu Ruyan. Sangha Temple, Vajra Hall. The Tosi of the Western Great Clan gathered around a long table laden with delicacies, the centerpiece being a roasted lamb. Night had fallen as their deliberations stretched into the evening. At this moment, the Western Great Tosi were all heartily enjoying the feast. La Min Oju was relatively refined, still using the knife and fork. Pa Jigsan, however, cared not a whit for appearances. Both hands were in action, tearing off chunks of the massive pork shank and stuffing them into his mouth. He paid no mind to the grease splattered all over him, his face gleaming with oil. Chef Luodan served them from the side, nodding approvingly at their hearty eating. As a chef, seeing his creations devoured with such gusto was his greatest joy. Today's events have been most displeasing. Deji, head of the Yashi Langtai clan seated at the head of the table, spoke while eating, his gaze fixed angrily on the three Tosi below him. Those damned rebels dared to storm the Chuanzhou Dharma assembly. This is an unforgivable crime. Were it not for our imminent journey to the Great Snow Mountain to open the doors of the Demon Kingdom, I would have had them all executed without exception. Pa Jigsan replied without lifting his head, "You are correct. When it comes to maintaining the stability and peace of the entire southwest region, we must rely on your Sangha Temple." Head of the Peiji clan. Deji shot Pa Jigsan a glare, his voice dripping with reproach. "If you had ordered your men to act then, you could have stopped the rebels from escaping. How dare you speak such words now?" Pa Jigsan met his gaze without flinching, his piercing eyes as fierce as a tiger's. "Is the chief monk now shifting the blame onto us?" The atmosphere grew tense, yet Xiaja Gyatso and La Min Oju continued eating without pause. They had witnessed such scenes countless times before. Among the Western great clans, their two families were among the weaker factions, forced to watch the two dominant clans fight for power. Most of the time, they were like fence-sitters, aligning with whoever appeared stronger. Deji spoke with a haunting gaze, "This incident will pass. The escape of one rebel will not shake the rule of Sangha Temple or the Western Great Tosi. However, regarding what comes next, I want you to understand, this is a matter of life and death for the entire Snowy Plateau. Regardless of our personal entanglements, we absolutely must not sabotage each other during the operations on the Great Snow Mountain." Pa Jigsan stopped chewing, while La Min Oju and Xiaja Gyatso also turned their gaze toward Deji. Leaning back in his chair, Deji spoke in a deep, resonant tone, "Over 2,000 years have passed since the great King Geezer subdued the demon clan. The day of the demon's arrival foretold in the epic of King Geezer will soon be upon us. When that time comes, even the seals left by King Geezer will struggle to hold back the true demons from the abyss of evil. Our Western Great Clan will face its end." Deji spoke slowly, yet his words weighed heavily upon the atmosphere. La Min Oju suddenly interjected, "Can legends from over 2,000 years ago truly be real?" She harbored doubts. Having received a Western education since childhood, she had always dismissed such ancient tales with disdain. Yet after the apocalypse, witnessing the myriad miracles of the Snowy Plateau, doubt began to stir within her. Could it be that the ancients truly foresaw all of this over 2,000 years ago? Deji immediately added, "But this is also an opportunity. We know of events beyond our borders. The subterranean caverns of the Qinling Mountains in the Xinjiang region, the Mist Valley abyss in the oceans, and the mysterious realms continuously emerging in the outside world. Those places are incredibly dangerous, yet they also hold immense treasures. If we can obtain them, not only will we preserve our family's 1,000-year legacy, but will also become even stronger." He spread his hands wide, declaring boldly, "By then, no one will be able to shake our position on the Snowy Plateau. The southwest region will become a state within a state, forever ruled by our Western family." His words rang with righteous conviction, yet the three below all sneered inwardly. Smooth talk. Come that day, once the spoils are secured, the Yashi Langtai clan won't share a crumb with the other families. They'll likely swallow the other three great clans whole once they've grown powerful. They're all sharp operators. No one's fooled by such empty rhetoric. The four great clans convened their Tusi, and soon the conversation turned to the Great Snow Mountain campaign scheduled for days hence. Deiji declared, "The mission to the Demon Kingdom is arduous. Each of our clans must dispatch a formidable contingent of mutant warriors to accompany the Undertaker into battle. Yet we must also guard against the rebels stirring up trouble." His gaze drifted toward Pa Jigsaw as he remarked calmly, "I shall accompany the Undertaker into the Demon Kingdom. Someone must remain behind to coordinate defenses and maintain strict vigilance. Which of you family heads will take this responsibility?" Hearing this, the three Tussi inwardly gasped. Was Deiji prepared to stake everything on this gamble? This expedition would leave Sunga Temple and the Yashi Langtai clan's main forces depleted, leaving them utterly hollowed out. Yet they also knew that as long as the Undertaker remained, everything lost would swiftly be reclaimed. And should they obtain the legendary treasures of the Demon Kingdom, the Yashi Langtai clan would only grow stronger. Shiaja Gyatso spoke up, "For safety's sake, I must personally join this expedition." La Min Oja pursed her lips. "Exactly. That's what I think too. Following the Undertaker underground would undoubtedly be safer. If others discovered the Demon Kingdom's treasure and claimed it, their positions as Tussi would be lost." Pa Jigsaw took a sip of meat broth, smacked his lips, and remarked, "Seems none of you want to stay behind to clean up this mess." It truly was a mess. Not only could they not go to the Demon Kingdom to control the situation, but they'd also lose out when the spoils were divided later. "Head of the Paji family, I believe you're the most suitable candidate. Why not stay behind to command the defense against the resistance army?" Deiji smiled slyly at Pa Jigsaw. Shiaja Gyatso and La Min Oju also turned to look at him, both expecting Pa Jigsaw to refuse. Instead, Pa Jigsaw sneered coldly, "Stay? Aren't you afraid I'll tear your Yashi Langtai family's old nest to shreds?" Deiji gave a chilling laugh. "You're a smart man. You wouldn't do such a thing. Do what I've tasked you with. You'll see in time that this serves your interests." The unspoken threat hung heavy: disobey, and upon our return from the Demon Kingdom, the Paji clan would face a brutal purge. "Very well," he chuckled. "Since you trust me with everything, then your private armies will answer to me too." "You'll be given some men," Deiji conceded. "But your authority over them will be strictly limited to suppressing rebels." Both Pa Jigsaw and Deiji wore icy smiles. Their eyes locked like clashing swords, the air thick with tension. Deiji tore off a chunk of meat, chewing as he praised, "Luodan's cooking grows ever more exquisite. I find myself utterly dependent on your dishes now." He suddenly turned to Luodan, who stood nearby distributing the meal. "How about you come to the Yashi Langtai household from now on? Be my chef." Luodan heard this and bowed politely. "I am the chef of the Paji household. I only follow the orders of my master." Pa Jigsaw roared with laughter. "Deiji, are your hands already itching to reach out?" He gestured toward Luodan. "But my precious chef will never be given away." Deiji's eyes turned cold as he replied meaningfully, "But I've never failed to obtain what I desire. This world is vast, and many things are beyond human prediction. Deiji, you're too impatient." Pa Jigsaw waved to Luodan, signaling him to leave first. Luodan bowed respectfully before departing the Vidra Hall with composed grace. Closing the massive doors with a gentle push, a fleeting, almost imperceptible smile touched his lips. Turning to walk out, a long corridor stretched beyond the hall. "Paji Luodan." Suddenly, a cold voice called out to Luodan. Luodan looked up and saw a man in dark red combat fatigues leaning against the wall not far ahead, gazing at him with icy detachment. This man was tall and lean, with long limbs. A snowy regent's sword hung at his waist. His thumb had already lifted the sword guard, its icy glint reflecting the ceiling lights and radiating an undeniable aura of lethal intent. The man before him was Nalatu, the commander of the Yashi Langtai family's guard. This sharp, capable man bore dark circles under his eyes, a weariness he struggled to conceal. Luodan walked slowly to his side and nodded in greeting. As Luodan passed, Nalatu gritted his teeth and spat out each word, "Remember this, someday, I'll carve you up piece by piece with my own sword. Luo Dan glanced at him nonchalantly, bowed respectfully, then left the hall. Along the way, countless eyes watched him furtively. No one dared approach this notorious chef, and many eyes burned with unchecked hatred. Yet as these glances swirled around him, Luo Dan's smile only grew more triumphant. Yes, this was it. Let their hatred feed on itself. Those eyes, yearning to kill him and devour him whole, utterly delightful. That evening, Pa Jigsaw and Daiji parted on bad terms. Upon returning home, he immediately sought out Zhang Yi. His current boldness stemmed entirely from Zhang Yi. Without him, what would Pa Jigsaw have to stand up to Daiji? Meanwhile, Zhang Yi sat in his room, waiting for Pa Jigsaw's return. Pa Jigsaw entered the room. Seeing a steaming cup of milk tea on the coffee table and the soft sofa seat still indented from his weight, he knew Zhang Yi had been sitting there waiting for him. Lord Chaos, that bastard from the Yashilangtai family has gone too far. Pa Jigsaw immediately began pouring out his grievances to Zhang Yi, detailing how the other had bullied him. Zhang Yi listened silently before suddenly asking, "Don't you want to retaliate against them?" Pa Jigsaw's expression froze. "Of course I want to. I dream of it," he declared with heartfelt conviction. Zhang Yi beckoned him closer. "Come here. I need you to do something for me." After hearing Zhang Yi's plan, Pa Jigsaw's expression shifted several times. "Is this even feasible?" He seemed skeptical. But that man has devoted himself to Dharma practice for over a decade. He's long since shed all worldly desires. "Your method." Zhang Yi smiled faintly. "There's a saying about idolization. In your eyes, the Undertaker is a god, perfect. But to me, he's just an otaku who hasn't left his home in years, knowing nothing but chanting sutras." Otaku, that was Zhang Yi's description of the Undertaker Jugo. It sounded odd at first, but upon reflection, it was remarkably appropriate. Everyone assumed he had transcended all worldly attachments, yet only Zhang Yi understood that Jugo might not be as pure as others imagined. The look in his eyes when he gazed at Zhou Qi that day had already revealed everything. The next day, a special guest arrived at the Paji family's villa. A black car pulled up at the entrance, surrounded by attendants who stood by with utmost reverence, not daring to show the slightest negligence. As the attendant opened the door, an elderly monk with snow-white hair stepped out. The guards at the gate, upon seeing him, prostrated themselves spontaneously, pressing their heads deep into the ground. Pa Jigsaw had been waiting at the doors. Spotting the visitor, he immediately put on a broad smile and approached. "Chief Monk Wanghua, thank you for coming despite your busy schedule." Pa Jigsaw was exceptionally deferential toward the old monk before him. For his identity was extraordinary, none other than Wanghua Sanji, the former chief monk of Sangha Temple. Back then, Yashilangtai Daiji had leveraged his status using the Undertaker and the military might of the Yashilangtai family. Using both coercion and persuasion, he had forced this chief monk to abdicate. Yet, on the snowy plateau, Wanghua Sanji still commanded immense prestige. Having served as the chief monk of Sangha Temple for over 30 years, he was a household name. Moreover, he shared a connection with the Paji family, as his predecessor as chief monk had been Paji Gasang's grandfather and his own teacher. Pa Jigsaw ushered Wanghua Sanji into the inner tea room, instructing servants to bring the finest tea and pastries. Wanghua Sanji sat opposite him, observing the attentive Pa Jigsaw, and stated plainly, "Gasang, if you have something to discuss, just speak plainly. At this moment, I cannot linger here long." Had it not been for his respect toward Pa Jigsaw, Wanghua Sanji would have had no desire to meet him. After all, everyone knew his strained relationship with Daiji could eventually backfire on Wanghua Sanji himself. Pa Jigsaw smiled. "Wanghua Chief Monk, I invited you here hoping you might assist me with a favor." Wanghua Sanji glanced up at him. "If it involves Sangha Temple or the Yashilangtai family, you'd be wise not to mention it." His tone was unusually cold, clearly unwilling to stir up trouble. Pa Jigsaw narrowed his eyes, his face still wearing an ingratiating smile. "Chief Wanghua, when you were ousted by Daiji and lost your position as chief monk, were you truly content with that? Wanghua Sanji's hand paused mid-motion, a flash of irritation crossing his eyes. Gasang, why bring this up? He was a man in his 70s, who should have been able to pass away peacefully and hand over the reins. But at an age when he should have been preparing for the grave, he was forcibly pushed out of office, a pain he dreaded to recall. Pa Jigsaw pressed on, what real ability does Daiji possess? He knows nothing of the Dharma, nothing but a Buddhist thief. He seized power solely because his family produced the Undertaker. Making him the chief monk of Sangha Temple is nothing short of a disgrace to our Tantra's millennia-old legacy. Pa Jigsaw's words pleased Wanghua Sanji. He spoke calmly, the matter is settled. With the Undertaker's backing, who can oppose him? Though his tone was composed, a hint of reluctance still lingered. Pa Jigsaw countered, he only became chief monk because he's the Undertaker's family head. Without the Undertaker's support, he's nothing to fear. Wanghua Sanji shot him a glance and coldly demanded, get to the point. Pa Jigsaw chuckled. Chief Monk Wanghua, in the past, the Undertaker and you often discussed Dharma. Your relationship was akin to that of teacher and disciple. Have you ever considered that if Daiji could gain control over the Undertaker, why couldn't you? Me? Ha! I don't have a powerful private army at my disposal. Wanghua Sanji sneered. Pa Jigsaw said, but with the Undertaker's backing, you could withstand 1,000 armies. On what grounds? Wanghua Sanji countered. Pa Jigsaw straightened his back and clapped his hands sharply. Immediately, a woman emerged from behind the room's screen. She was enchantingly alluring, her figure captivatingly seductive. A single glance could make countless men lose their souls. I hope you can help me pay my respects to the Undertaker. Pa Jigsaw pressed his thigh. I recall that in Dharma practice, there are several gates, including the contemplation of the beautiful woman. It involves observing the decay of female corpses to grasp the truth of beauty turning to bones. The Undertaker is one who has attained great enlightenment. As his quasi-mentor, assisting him in his practice seems quite reasonable, wouldn't you agree? The contemplation of beauty, the beauty's gate. Pa Jigsaw's words carried a double meaning, rich with implication. Wanghua Sanji lifted his gaze to the woman. He hadn't seen such beauty in many years. It wasn't her features, but the allure between her brows and eyes. A single glance could ensnare anyone. Such a woman was impossible to find on the snowy plateau today. She was the finest, most refined beauty born in the nurturing lands of the Jiangnan waterways. She knew nothing else but one thing, how to ensnare a man's heart. Wanghua Sanji lowered his gaze, his mind drifting to a past memory. When the first Undertaker Jugo entered seclusion for his first retreat, he was sealed within a cramped chamber, with only a small opening for delivering meals and scriptures. In that chamber, barely 10 square meters, he toiled in intense practice for 3 years. 3 years later, Wanghua Sanji led men to smash the walls with sledgehammers and escort him out. Yet everyone believed the Undertaker had achieved enlightenment, so they held a grand celebration. But during the funeral rites, the Undertaker stared transfixed at a young mother nursing her child. From that moment, Wanghua Sanji knew the Undertaker's ties to the mortal world remained. He left his mother at 8 and lived as an ascetic monk for over a decade. Though outwardly in his 20s, his mind remained as pure and innocent as a child's. His longing for his mother and his natural, primal desires did not vanish through daily scripture recitation, they were merely suppressed. But what would happen if they were unleashed? Wanghua Sanji sighed deeply, his heart torn with conflict. The thought of personally destroying the cultivation of a lord of the corpse filled him with reluctance, even a sense of profound sin. But if he did not act, he would never wash away the humiliation Daiji had brought upon him. After much deliberation, Wanghua Sanji nodded toward the woman. Since this woman possesses such a spirit of devotion, I shall certainly facilitate her noble endeavor. Pa Jigsaw was overjoyed and immediately knelt before Wanghua Sanji, prostrating himself. Thank you, Wanghua Chief Monk. Wanghua Sanji replied, this is solely to aid the Undertaker in his spiritual practice, not for my personal gain. Amitabha. That evening, as Daiji once again gathered the major local Tusi for the celebration of the Chuanzhou Dharma Assembly, Wanghua Sanji's small carriage entered Sangha Temple through a side door. No one noticed that among the group of lamas wrapped in thick robes accompanying him was a strikingly beautiful young woman. The mundane affairs of Sangha Temple were always handled by Daiji. The undertaker knew little of such matters, so he merely made an initial appearance and then withdrew. When Daiji and the others went to a meeting, the undertaker was reciting sutras in the Temple of Light. Wanghua Sanji entered, and the undertaker turned at the sound. Seeing it was Wanghua Sanji, a flicker of delight crossed his face. "Chief monk." He bowed respectfully to Wanghua Sanji. Wanghua Sanji gazed at the undertaker with benevolence. "Undertaker, it's been a long time. Have you made progress in your Dharma practice?" The undertaker frowned slightly. Disciple has recently been distracted by external matters, making it difficult to cultivate the Dharma with a tranquil mind. Thus, there has been some delay. Wanghua Sanji nodded. "That is correct." Chief monk, what do you mean?" the undertaker asked, his face filled with surprise. "Could being disturbed by external matters actually aid my Buddhist practice?" Wanghua Sanji chanted a Buddhist invocation. Amitabha. To temper the mind in the moral world, one must traverse the vast cosmos before attaining ultimate enlightenment. In ancient times, the Buddha Shakyamuni experienced the joys and sorrows of human existence before comprehending all truths and entering the monastic doors. To let go, one must first grasp. Without experiencing these things, how can you hope to see through them? The undertaker suddenly understood, clasping his hands together and bowing deeply. "Chief monk, I am enlightened." Wanghua Sanji nodded with satisfaction. "Today, your cultivation has reached a bottleneck. It is time to teach you the next lesson." Excitement flashed across the undertaker's face. "Chief monk, what is the next lesson?" "To comprehend the worldly realm, see through all desires, and ultimately grasp the profound truths of the Buddhist doors." He turned and walked toward the exit. "Follow me." The undertaker held profound respect for Wanghua Sanji. Hearing this venerable monk would impart new dharma, he eagerly followed without delay. Wanghua Sanji led him to a hidden chamber at the rear. He instructed, "Enter. Whether you grasp its essence depends entirely on you." The undertaker knew not what lay within. Yet upon reaching the doors, the sight before him caused his eyes to freeze momentarily, his pupils tightening slightly. Within the room stood a woman. She wore a red and white robe, her face radiating gentle kindness. Her beautiful features and ample curves unmistakably emphasized her maternal qualities. "Chief monk, this is..." The undertaker hesitated. Wanghua Sanji shoved him forward. "Go! You must conquer your inner demons. Remember, all is but a rosy-cheeked skeleton." The undertaker stumbled into the room. When he lifted his head, he saw the beautiful, maternal woman before him. She bent down, gazing at him with tender eyes. "Are you all right?" She extended a hand as white and smooth as milk. "I've come to aid your cultivation, child. Come to me." Those words, "Come, child," struck the softest part of the undertaker's heart. He was utterly inexperienced in this realm, having no idea how to proceed. Yet the one before him was a top-level master with combat prowess reaching 9,999 in this very domain. No guidance was needed. Lu Rian led him forward with practiced ease. The undertaker was utterly inexperienced at first. Having entered the path of Buddha and demon at 8, he knew nothing of matters between men and women, he'd scarcely even heard of them. No one dared discuss such things in the presence of the sacred undertaker. Yet for a grown man, bodily instincts compelled him to seek answers from within. And today, a lean woman from the Jiangnan region had taught him many of life's delights.